guys? Welcome to the Man Up Club Presents podcast. I'm your host, Celena Lena, aka Sis from Sis and Lil Bro. But on the professional side, I am the program coordinator of this organization. It is a nonprofit mentor leadership organization for young men of color between the ages of 13 and 24 years old. We're based in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. My whole job is to make sure that the young men are getting all the resources that they need to become successful, hence program coordinator, okay? The goals of the Man Up Club is to make sure that they're graduating high school, one, two, that they're staying out of the prison pipeline, and three, that they're graduating onto college or getting a trade after high school. So we do a lot of different things. We got a music program. We have a culinary arts program where they can learn how to cook. We have a fitness program, a tutoring program, a pretty much everything program. So if you want to go ahead and donate to the Man Up Club, definitely visit themanupclub.org. But without further ado, I want to definitely get into this episode today. The question is, who are you really? Because we're reclaiming Black identity through our stories, okay? Who are you really? That is the topic of today. It is about identity. Now, my guest today, very special guest, okay? His name is Vashawn, and also he's known as Vo, you know?
Yes.
We used to play on stage together. He's a drummer. You know, he calls himself a church boy. He grew up in a church. He was in a choir. He was a praise dancer, family, you know, all up in a church. So I definitely can relate. His biggest gig was at the River Center in downtown St. Paul. And he told me that a man named Craig, he was actually a sub drummer for Mint Condition. That's the person who got him the gig. He became a father at 19 years old. He's only 29 now. And I'm actually going to let him say what's up. So say what's up, Bo.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for having me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous as of right now, just because I just thought about how there's like no audience, but we're doing this over, sound waves and things like that. So I almost like, hey everybody, and stuff like that. But anyways, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. It's a blessing for you to be here.
Appreciate it.
Just
Thank
be
you.
yourself. I know I'm a little much sometimes. I get
it's all
nervous
good.
too. So, I just want to play like a little clip of the time that we performed on stage together because I mean, of course I do music and everything, but we had a show July, what was this day? This was July 29th of 2019 on Broadway in Minneapolis. I'm about to play you guys a clip, and here I'll like show like the little audio of us. Like this is literally us.
That's crazy.
When we had just got off stage. I'll just play this audio real quick. Hold on. Let me see if y'all can hear this. What's good, y'all? This is my drummer, Vashawn. What's good, y'all? What's going on? We literally just got done performing for the first time together. So I'm really excited to have him on the team. How did it feel up there?
It was good. The vibe was good. It started out a little rocky only because of the sound system, but we prevailed and it sounded good, and the crowd really loved us. So
yeah,
can't wait for the next one.
That's crazy. Super crazy. So a lot of life has happened since then.
Yeah. A lot of growth.
A lot of growth.
Jesus.
And speaking of growth, growth has a lot to do with identity. So let's just get into it because we as humans, if we grow every single day just like a tree, just like a plant, right? And so every tree, every plant has its roots.
Facts.
And we have our own roots. When you talk about our roots, we're talking about, okay, what is the root of our identity? Like, where does identity begin? You know, identity begins with environment, family, upbringing, and early values.
For sure.
So, what was your family dynamic like growing up?
Am still to this day very blessed with my family dynamic because like we discussed before, I have a lot of men in my family first and foremost, and I think now that I'm older, looking back on it, that was probably the biggest impact, positive impact that I could have been exposed to was the men in my family.
Mm.
So speaking for the or speaking of that, like my family is real big. Um, we're blended, but like we're a big family. Um,
I got a blended family too, so
yeah,
I definitely can relate.
it's it's so many things about it that's cool because the different people, the different interests, and the different topics, the different like personalities and things like that. It's just real cool. But to sum it up, I would just say my family dynamic was just very real, loving, and uh very much protective, and very much so how would you say, like elderly um led. Like
Okay.
our family, we're big on respecting our elders and things like that. No matter what age you are, for example, my older cousin and my auntie, they're real close in age, and they hang out, you know, today and things like that. But even when they were younger, we still had, and even now, still obviously too, that respect level
Mm.
of respecting our elders and stuff like that, no matter how close in age you are, or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, you said two things that stand out to me. Number one is you said you had a lot of male influence and role models
Mhm.
in your family. I
Mhm.
just want to say that that is a beautiful thing to hear you
Yeah.
say that. Just as looking at you as a young black man, just
Appreciate it.
because in our culture, in Black American culture,
Mhm.
the family dynamic has been stripped down to bare bones. Like
Yeah.
usually it's just, the mamas and it's a single mom. Um and I don't hear a lot of black men saying, "Oh, there
Yeah.
was a lot of strong black men
Mhm.
figures." So who were they? Like just name them
Yeah.
off. Like if you
So right
have.
away, my granddad got my dad, obviously, and my uncle Deuce, um my cousins Jeremiah, my older cousins Sean, Antoine, my uncle X, um my uncle Sam.
What did they teach you about manhood?
Having your own out, that's the, like,
Having your
the
own.
biggest thing, like, as a man, that they instilled in me in many different ways, many different conversations and things like that, was just especially as I got older. I would say from like 15 on up, like that was real big talking points. Was having your own as a man and making sure you can provide for yourself before anything else.
Mm.
Um, um, and then once you have family of your own and things like that, obviously, um, take care of your family.
Speaking of
So
family, I see that
yeah,
you got your hand tatted. It literally says
yeah,
family.
family first.
You gotta show that camera right there.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry. I'm a little unprofessional, but I don't even know where I am. Oh, I don't know if y'all can see it.
Family first. You
Okay.
really you ain't
Yeah.
just talking about it. You being about it.
No, yeah.
Don't talk
I
about it. Be
I
about
try
it.
to be.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's real hard. And
Yeah.
honestly, okay, so going back to your father,
Mhm.
how has your father impacted your life? Like, because do you have a lot of friends who don't have an active father in their lives?
um Honestly, if I'm really thinking about it, I would say it's kind of half and half.
Okay.
Um, I know a good amount that I don't. I've never heard of their dad, seen their dad, or nothing like that. But there's a good amount also that their dad is very much in their lives. They, hang out and all those type of things. But yeah, I would say, I'm sorry, what was the question?
It was,
I just
you're good. It was
spaced on it.
no, you
Sorry.
good. It was like how has your father like influenced your life? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, imagine that you didn't have your father in your life.
Hmm.
And obviously you have that's a limited imagination because you have had your
Yeah.
dad in your life. But like
I get you.
if you only had just the females, your granny, your
Mm.
auntie, what do you think that you would miss now if you didn't have those men in your life?
Man, that's a deep question. That's a good question. I think I would probably the biggest thing would be um my self pride and like just yeah, my self pride, my self confidence, and my intuition. I wouldn't. I feel like I probably wouldn't have had that as strong as I do now if I hadn't had my dad and my the other male figures in my life around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also specifically for my dad, I wouldn't have had, or I wouldn't have the go getter kind of mindset and personality and outgoing type of personality. Uh, and for sure wouldn't be as talkative as I am
Mm-hmm.
without my dad, for sure specifically. And I think as a grown man now, those things really help me even day to day now, still help me get through life, and tiny lessons here and there, or just lessons in general that I learned that he instilled that still work to this day, and things like that. So I can't really imagine. I'm glad I'm not in that position. Fortunately for me, but yeah, I couldn't imagine how my life would be if had not had my dad or positive male figures around me.
Right. It's essential. And the fact that
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you're a father now.
Yeah,
What's your son's name?
Kingsley.
Kingsley. That's so
Yeah,
cute. How old is he?
9.
9. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I haven't even seen a picture of him, but you have to show me
Mm-hmm.
after we
Yeah,
get off
yeah,
the
yeah.
show. But just I also I want to say too, like it's a beautiful thing for you to be able to like have the experience of your dad raising you and then now being a father to your child.
Definitely.
What do you think the difference is between a baby daddy and a father?
Man, that is also another good question. Because I hate the quote unquote baby daddy stereotype,
Mm-hmm.
or narrative, or whatever the case. Stereotypes do have truth to them. But anyways, the difference is quite simply, to me, in my opinion, a baby dad is someone who has a child or children, who really doesn't care about them or put them first, or uh yeah d- and that goes for financial, emotionally, time wise. Like, they just don't care, they're fine, with whatever. And a father is someone who is present now, whether that is, or so present, actually being financially present, being emotionally present, being there time wise, and all the other areas. That's what a father is. And no matter what your relationship is with the mother, you're still there for your child or children, and that's the difference.
Now the question is, if you don't come from people who you respect, if you don't come from people who you admire, because there are people who don't feel like the family that they're born into is really like what they want to become. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So it's like sometimes if you look back into family history, you can actually be ashamed of where
Yeah.
you came from,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So then it's like the question is like how do you how do you make sense of that? You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like how do people cope with that? Like for example, if you got let's just say like let's
Yeah.
just say for example that um my mom, she strung out on drugs and she always struggled to keep a job and stuff. And then like her mom, was just never consistent in her life. It's just like, okay,
Hmm.
well, dang, like now I come from a family of,
Yeah.
women who are not consistent. So what does that make me? I think sometimes when we think about those things, it's our mind that allows us to either fall into the narrative that
Mm-hmm.
we've seen in the past or allow us to create a new one.
That's true.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's accurate.
identity, your mind and how you think about yourself shapes your identity,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
very true.
When it comes to like, what about some character flaws or things about your family that have you ever had any character flaws or things about your family that you're just like, I don't want to repeat that, so I just want to
Mm-hmm.
like I want to be a little bit different when it comes to that.
Yeah, for sure. And actually hanging around older people since I was young had me thinking that way for a while, just being observant and stuff like that. So but to answer your question, there was some in particular that I've seen uh from my granddad,
Mhm.
and it was something that is you could say is not that big of a deal, but seeing how it affects the rest of the family and stuff like that, you could say otherwise. So that flaw that I personally felt that I want to change was my tone of speaking when I'm speaking to my family and speaking to my loved ones. And the reason why the tone is so important is because even when we're around our family, we can just be so used to how they see us and how we see them and stuff like that, and we just tend to get comfortable because this is our family and stuff like that. But even with family, you it should be in a perfect world, in a you should be at a place to where you can have constructive criticism with your family or talk about things that are affecting you, or
Was stuff swept under the rug?
yeah, or honestly, not really. There was What I will say is my family is the type of family that they don't they keep adult business, kids business. So
Mm.
I'll say they did a good job of not uh just outwardly blasting out or airing out information or secrets and things like that. Because me and my mom, me being an adult now and stuff like that, me and my mom talk often about like just like random family stuff, or I ask her questions like what happened then and at that time and da da da, because um like I said, they did a good job of not really doing a lot of stuff in front of us. So
You know,
uh,
one thing that I think about is like black culture and how it shapes identity because it's like one of those things in black culture is like, okay, what happens in this house stays in this house,
yeah.
and a child needs to stay in a child's place
Mhm.
and get out of grown folks' business.
Yeah.
That's like those are the black cultural things that are instilled in our minds. And when it comes to thinking about like, okay, who I am and who do I want to be, it's
Mhm.
like I understand that about our culture, you know, but at the same time, those are narratives that I don't want to raise myself, continue to raise myself to be up in, or
Mhm.
my kids. You know what I'm saying? Because, and that's the thing, because I know a lot of black people can relate to this. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like you see the trauma of your family and what their values are. You take the good away from the bad and just
Yeah.
keep on rolling with it. But it's like, for example, if you want to have like a healthy family and you want to be self-aware and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, understand other people's perspectives and work through things with like healthy conflict resolution. When issues come up, when circumstances come about, when stuff
Mhm.
hits the fan, and family drama happens and then like people are negatively affected,
Yeah.
that's when you know conversations need to start happening, and then like you
Yeah.
have to kind of lean up off of this whole idea of like childs need to stay in a child's place. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, children are very wise too. Children are,
And
as a
that's
matter
the
of
thing.
yeah, like they're
That's the
the first
thing.
ones to tell the truth.
And that to that point is like what I love about my mom, and not to say that my family is perfect or nothing like that.
Ain't nobody's family perfect.
Definitely not perfect, but I personally feel like my family does a lot of things the right way and go about things the right way. And one of the things my mom always said to me was, "It's not what you say; it's how
How you
you
say
say
it.
it."
Right.
So, like when it comes to things that children, for example, things that they should be aware about, even though it's not um
Age appropriate.
probably age appropriate for them, there's a way you go about it, there's a way you address it and things like that.
Right.
So I agree with the whole narrative, like, nah, you stay in the child, because what that does is, like, as a child, and I didn't experience this too often, to be honest, but like I understand though, as a child you're really very observant, and once you get to speaking and stuff like that, and you're getting older and you're just doing more observing and stuff, you speak, and what you really are is just curious, and
Mm-hmm.
you're just excuse me, you're either asking about something, or you're repeating something that you heard, or
Right.
and things like that. And a lot of times almost could feel like they're putting a responsibility on you as a child to discern when I
What to say?
should
Right.
say something, or what I should think about, and all these different type things. And it's like, nah, at the end of the day, we're the adults. We gotta do that. Yeah, as the adults, we gotta essentially, yeah, like I said, just it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
And just transitioning from like childhood to adulthood, it's a
Hmm.
very tumultuous time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like being a teenager and that transition from okay, I'm a child, I'm going to like you said, copy and imitate everything that I
Hmm.
see because we're like sponges.
Yeah.
So it's like your identity can be molded. You know,
Hmm.
your family and your
Definitely.
upbringing and your culture, it molds your identity,
Definitely.
right?
For
I mean,
sure.
you was raised with Christian values,
Yeah.
you know, um and things like that, but as you get older,
Hmm.
you start to understand that you have the freedom to now mold yourself regardless of
Yes.
the environment
Yeah.
that you're in.
Yeah.
And that
Very
takes a
true.
lot more willpower just because
Hmm.
like when you're growing up, it's like the when you're young, the clay is still being made, you know.
Yeah.
But once you're in that adult kind of form, it's just harder to bend.
Yeah. That's a good
Y-
analogy. That is a really
Yeah,
good
thank you.
analogy. Yeah. That is really good.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's why I wouldn't say that's why, but to that point, it's like, um for me personally, when I was probably l- yeah, about 18, 19, right around the time I was finna have my son and stuff, that's really, and I thank my mom too for kind of giving me the reassurance to, like, be myself and be your own man and be an adult, because um I was the type of child that was really influenced by my family and friends and things like that, and sometimes it would be to a detriment. It would be bad. Excuse me. More so with like friends and things like that, but
How so?
because I was excuse me, I wanted to really be accepted, liked, because I was a church boy and stuff like that,
Mm.
right? So
Okay.
I would, like I said, I was in praise dance, the choir. I was not just the choir. I was on a musician side as well, like doing that.
You stayed in church.
Like, stayed there, and then even after the services, like they would have food and things like that, like the fellowship part of it. I stayed then too, and like all types of stuff. So once I went to school, or like high school, middle school, yeah, between like 7th and like 10th grade, um it was real, because a lot of my church friends went to the same school that I went to.
Hmm.
So when seen the stuff they were doing, and I'm like, oh, y'all a little different. than how y'all act in church and stuff. And
Mm.
I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna get down with that too.
Right.
So
Right.
doing all those things, and one thing leads to another. I get in trouble, and uh, just wanting to be popular and all those typical high school things.
Well,
And
not everybody has a typical high school experience.
yeah, I mean that
So what was you doing? You smoking weed?
not even. I mean, not even. That's the crazy thing. Like I was the most. I was. I couldn't even call myself a class clown. Like
You just be
I was just
acting out?
not. Yeah, just not doing work
Okay.
for the most part. Like it wasn't that. And I wasn't like a violent person either. I wasn't in a lot of fights or nothing like that. It was just for the most part, I was always around the wrong people at the wrong time. I was always like with the crowd that was doing the bad stuff for the most part. And but like it's just so funny when you brought up weed. I literally was scared to tell my mom that I smoked. The very first time I smoked, I was literally I think a junior or sophomore in high school or whatever. So I was a little late to the party at that stage, but I was scared to tell my mom, and this was a couple years after I was like 17, finna graduate, and she was like, First of all, I already know that you
Mm.
smoke. I already know. Um,
Dang.
and but we do have a couple ground rules. Don't do it in my house and da 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 and stuff like that. Then she told me about a time she smoked and stuff like that, or whatever the case. But that's where my mind went to when you just said that. But yeah, I wasn't when it came to school and stuff. It was just hanging around the wrong people and being influenced to do dumb stuff like skipping school and stuff like that. That's probably the worst thing I did. Skip school.
I feel that. Um,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like so there's a difference between like going through a phase because like you said like the way you talk about that was a phase.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also things that actually stay with us that are called character flaws. It's
Yeah.
not a phase,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So next we're gonna dive into, exploring the meaning of our character flaws
Mm.
and the things that are bad about us, the things that we're ashamed about when it comes
Mm.
to looking ourselves in the mirror, and what does that, how does that relate to our identity, and what does that mean for who we are?
Cool.
Like I said, there's a difference between you going through a phase. Y'all probably had phases where you was buck wild. You probably had phases where you was high as a kite, wouldn't put the blunt down. Come on now. Let's not
Yeah.
even lie.
Yeah.
You had
Yeah.
phases
Yeah.
where, you was just hitting and quitting it, sleeping around, having one night
Mm-hmm.
stands because everybody be doing stuff.
Yeah.
We're not gonna sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
And that was that was honestly a phase for you, or maybe it wasn't
Yeah.
even all that. Maybe it was just a phase where you were just very depressed, or maybe it
Mm-hmm.
was a phase where you were just so mad, disrespectful at the world because you were just mad at your situation.
Yeah.
But then you've grown now, and now you're, what I'm saying. Now you understand why you were the way you were. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, and you're fully operating in a better identity.
Yeah.
But we do have character flaws though,
Definitely.
and these character flaws range very wide.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, for example, I'll say a couple of mine and
Mm.
then you'll say like a couple of yours.
Got you.
And then just thinking about all the listeners, you guys think about your own character flaws, but just thinking about those things like we're going to talk about, okay, is that a part of our identity? What does that mean for
Mm-hmm.
our identity? So for me, like a couple of character flaws, one is I struggle with self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
The world is not my biggest enemy. To me, I'm my biggest
Mm-hmm.
enemy. Motivation, it burns out a lot, but you can't be successful and run your life and make decisions and act on motivation. You have to
Mm-hmm.
act on self-discipline because
Yeah.
self-discipline is doing what you need to do when you need to do it, no
Mm.
matter how you feel.
Yeah.
And I really struggle with that. And then another character flaw of mine is, um, like, so like that's like okay, that's one thing. But then I guess like on another level, um, one of mine's would be communicating effectively
Mm.
and being able to say what I mean and mean what I say. I'm still working on
Mm.
tightening up my communication.
Gotcha.
What about you?
Honestly, I'm gonna go the same with the self discipline part because that is just very true with me. And what you said just pretty much just resonates with me, and the self discipline is so important. And to me, what I take out of that is, in order to have self discipline, you gotta look in that mirror, and
Mm,
you gotta be comfortable with who you are, and you gotta know, before anyone else has to tell you. And that's another thing my mom used to. I shouldn't have to tell you this. I shouldn't have to tell you that. You should already know.
hmm,
And like, yeah, so you should know what flaws you have and what things you can change to make you a better person and things like that. And for me, the self discipline has been a big thing with me. Trying to stick to schedules and routines and things like that. Then one more, I guess other one I could say is consistency, but that kind of also falls into the self discipline category as well.
Are there any character flaws that you have that are related to like emotional or how you carry yourself as a man? Like, do you have anger issues? Have you ever like
Uh,
do you become people off? Like,
I would say,
I'm just throwing out ideas.
no, yeah. So, hmm, I don't know how I would exactly word because I don't like, so I like words, and I like the definitions of words and stuff like that. And I don't think, for me in particular, and particularly anger fits a lot of my emotions. But what I will say
He's like, I'm
is,
far from that.
the like I am, but I do get irritated. Like I get irritated and frustrated quickly with things, especially when things that are planned don't go my way, or not even my way, but things don't go as planned in general. Uh, it's very hard for me to adjust to that emotionally. I tend to um hold on a little bit longer to
The plan.
small things and like stuff that gets me off my emotional square and stuff. So,
Mm,
uh, yeah, yeah, emotions is the thing I'm trying to get straight right now. So,
for sure. So then the question is, okay, think about all these character flaws that we have. The question is, if you're doing something bad for so long, or you struggle with
mm,
something for so long, or you know what I'm saying, let's just say you would crash out
mm,
and like literally it's so hard for you to like you want to do better,
right,
right? Like we want to be more self-disciplined, we want to be more emotionally in control, we want to communicate effectively, we want
mm,
to be more patient, we want to be more kind, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But a lot of the times we fall into the opposite
yeah,
of what we want. So the question is like, how do you how do you reconcile who you are versus what you're consistently doing? Because
mm-hmm,
isn't the definition of a characteristic or a character flaw something that you're doing repetitively, and if you do
yeah,
it so often it becomes a part of who you are?
yeah. I think that's true. Um, but to answer the question, I feel like, and this is just me personally, I tend to have a strong willed personality and a strong like mindset, to the point to where it's like, if I feel like I can do something, I can do it. And not on a like unrealistic level either. I'm very realistic as well, but I don't think there's nothing that I can't do, especially within myself, that I can't change. So, um, with that, if there's something that I'm just continuously doing that I know I want to change, but it's just not happening. To me, this, like I said, this is just my personal opinion. To me, I'm just not dedicated enough, even though I know I want these things. Uh, and that kind of um brings in the self discipline part of it, because it's like, let's say I'm struggling with being healthy, and let's say I'm overweight and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I want to eat healthy, I want to exercise more, I want to stop eating so much snacks, but I'm not cleaning out my refrigerator, I'm not cutting down my TV time, I'm not you know, being proactive pretty
Mhm.
much. And to me, I think a lot of uh character development and stuff like that can be made or can be broken by how proactive you're being.
Mhm.
And if you're not proactive, then a lot of times you're going to
You're
be,
reactive.
yeah, exactly. So trying to be proactive, I think, can help with that.
Mhm. You know, one of my biggest fears
Mm,
is that no matter how much I will to do something
mm,
or how great I know I can be,
right.
I'm never going to get there because I it's like I'm an imposter.
Mm,
Kind of like this
mm,
the character flaws like basically okay, I know somebody feels me on this, but
mm,
it's like what we're talking about is what you will to do, which is like some people describe it as your soul because your soul
yeah.
is what you want out of life. It's what you
Right.
dream about. It's what you know what I'm saying. It's like the essence of who you are is
Yeah.
your soul.
Yeah.
But then you have your flesh,
Mm-hmm.
which is the thing that's like, okay, this is what I'm more comfortable doing. Even though I want to do that, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
just don't feel like doing it. And I'm gonna just do what's comfortable because it's what's comfortable and it's what's
Yeah.
familiar and it's less hard to do the thing that I really want to do.
Yeah.
So it's just like my biggest fear is that like even though I want to be the best I can possibly be, it's just like in reality, like that's not who I am. And the real person that who I am is just the one who is
Mm.
just gonna be complacent and always struggle to get where I really want to be.
Well, I would say to that real quickly that the mind is a powerful thing, and it's our most powerful organ. Uh, yeah, organ. In our body, muscle, and stuff like that. So like with that, to me, whatever you think, um, that's what can happen. Those are the possibility. That's where your limits are and
Mm,
things like that.
mm,
So if you feel like I can be this, I can be the best I can be. I don't know, and being realistic with yourself, I don't know how at this point. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I do see myself. I'm going to get there. To me, that like mindset is everything, and
mm.
um, you you can't let your subconscious take over your conscious, because that's what rules everybody. Honestly, like I think there's some scientific studies where it's like almost 80 to 90% of your subconscious controls your whole like thought process and what you do, how you do it, what you think, and stuff like that. And you only use a little bit of your consciousness, like, okay, I'm actually going to, in your intentions and things like that. So
Ooh, that's oh my God.
mindset is everything. So I word choices also. I never is not in my uh
Vocabulary.
vocabulary.
Period. We're starting to touch on your mindset because your mindset is a key ingredient to achieving who you want to be and realizing who you are. Um, you were saying something, Rashawn, about
Yes.
how never is in your vocabulary.
Yeah, I don't like to use it. Um, I don't like to use as it pertains to like your character or yourself, or trying to set goals or anything like that, because to me, like, words have power, and when you say never, that's like putting a ceiling or a cap on whatever you're trying to accomplish or think about, or whatever the case may be. And so and uh so when I'm sorry. Um
I think you said your mom taught you something.
y- yeah. Um oh, not my mom. I can't remember where I heard it. Um I want to honestly say it was at church or something like that. But the analogy, or not the analogy, but the saying is that your thoughts become words and your words become your actions, and what
You're,
that. I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say what that means is like what your whole daily like life and your everything like that. Like it starts with your mind and it starts with the thoughts you have. And I was saying earlier too that like, or I think I already said it before, but like yeah, most people's minds are controlled by their subconscious and stuff
Right.
like that. So they're not even really aware of how they're or why they're doing things and stuff like that. So yeah.
You know, speaking of the subconscious, there's a lot of things that influence our subconscious mind. So therefore there's a lot of things that will influence our identity because given
Mm-hmm.
that process you just said, if we're thinking about okay, start with the mind, you start with a thought
Mm-hmm.
subconsciously. Let's just say that the thought is from hip hop music. Like what's a common thought in hip hop music and culture?
It's just violent. Or
Well,
that's a
no, like
negative one. But
I'm trying to think of a specific one that's ruling our culture right now. Like uh I basically like okay, I hit her once and then I pass it to my friend. That's like basically
okay.
that's part of like the culture of hip hop now. This that we've been on, which is
Okay.
like basically it's like okay, the more bodies that you got, it's like oh yeah, I got this clout. Like oh
Yeah.
I got this
Okay.
girl.
Yeah.
I got this girl. I don't even know her name. Like I just hit it
Yeah.
and I don't even know her name. Like
Yeah.
basically
I get you.
there's this whole so there's that thought,
Yeah.
there's that idea, right?
Yeah.
And it's infiltrated into the music,
Right.
into black culture. So
Mm-hmm.
when you listen to that over and over again, because music, it is music and the subconscious mind go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even when you're not thinking about something, like you could just be, it's just playing in your mind because you know the
Yeah.
song.
Yep.
And so it's like, how does that subconsciously seep into your relationships and how you deal with women?
People don't think about that, and that's that. And I don't. Not to say that.
Because that's not fruitful living, y'all.
No, it's not. And
It's
the
not.
the thing is, uh, again, like consistency. Like it's a struggle. If you want to truly like be consciously aware of the things you're intaking through music, through television and things like that, you really have to be diligent and consistent and really every day like really take it to heart that this can be and it is proven to be damaging and stuff like that. And yeah, the the way that that particular thing in hip hop or the particular example that you gave when it comes to hip hop is very problematic, to say the least. And
You listen to hip hop? I mean, to secular hip hop music?
not today,
Not
not
today.
like or not today's like era of
Mm.
hip hop. Like to
Mm.
be 100% honest with you, I do not like it's.
Ooh.
And I try to, as a music person, as a musician, try to understand like where it's going. Try to recognize that it is evolving,
Yeah.
but just on a personal level, it's just like there's no substance to it anymore.
Mm.
There's no intention behind it.
Ain't
It's
no
just
intention at all.
money, pretty much, and money, power, sex,
I mean,
drugs.
that's what it's been. Listen, that's
It
what
it's
it's
kind of
been.
a little bit, a
But
little bit.
but now it's just like you said, now it's just no effort. It's literally like
Yeah,
it's literally. I'm sorry, we getting on a bunny trail now, but that's
yeah,
how disappointed we are in this whole thing.
yeah.
But it's
It's
just like it's
disappointing.
literally just like, oh, he know I got a fatty, smack it.
That's it.
Like literally, okay, like that's what you chose
It
to do
it
with your
it
microphone.
and the thing is like even because when there's a lot of newer people our age and younger and stuff like that that be like, well, the old rappers and stuff they was rapping about the same thing back in the day and they were even nastier and even more vulgar and da da da. Da. But the thing was, and my argument is, they were artistic. It wasn't what they said. That wasn't the problem. It was
It was
how they was
it was
saying it.
it was put it poetic.
It
It
was
was like
very there. It
double
was
entendres
it.
and
it was storytelling, like,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, and you just don't get that nowadays. It's just straight to the point.
Right, and it's just like, yep, and I feel like,
That's
yeah, okay, we can hop off that funny show for a second. Okay,
sorry.
back to no, it's okay. So yeah, back to talking about this identity thing. So the
Yeah.
thing, the thing that we're really trying to drill down is like your environment, what you take into your ears, what you take
For
into
sure.
your eyes, what you take just everywhere inside of your body. Like that is what is influencing you.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we look at the past to understand our identity. We look
Yeah.
at the present, try to be better now,
Mm-hmm.
but then also the future.
Yep.
We try to influence who we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's where I find the most comfort in is the future because it's not written yet.
Hmm.
And so that's where I'm like, okay, it's the opportunity and the possibility
Yeah.
that gets me on a high when it comes to
Yeah.
looking at who I am.
Yeah.
I look at the past and I'm not thinking of I haven't thought about this until just now, but when I look at myself in the mirror and I think about who I am as a person and who I want to be and how
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving in this world, I find a lot I'm satisfied and happy when I think about my past.
Mm.
Me as a child, me as an
That's
innocent
good.
girl, just having a good old time,
Right.
how I was raised. I think about the future and get excited the same way because it's not written yet and I have the
Right.
power to write it.
Yeah.
But it's the present identity that I have a problem with.
Hmm. That's real. Yep.
So, because it's the
That
scariest one because it's the one that,
you have the most responsibility there,
there you go.
because that I think having a child for me has really put my mind there. Is like, what you do today
Mm-hmm.
literally will affect tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Not just tomorrow. What you do today or what you don't do today will
Mm.
affect tomorrow and the future. And I think that is a can be a scary thing to think about, because, like I said, it's so much responsibility. You have all this power over your life, and it, if you mess up, it can put you in a bad spot and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's difficult to think about sometimes. So I agree with that.
That's why it's so important to get a grip of who you are. And it's like
Yeah.
some people don't like who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Yeah.
kind of we got to give a call to action for some people. So
Okay.
we've only touched I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this.
Yeah. Definitely.
But this is
Yeah.
definitely an episode and a topic. This is definitely a topic that we're going to revisit, just on
Of
this show.
course.
We have to revisit identity. But
Yeah.
um if you're listening to this, start a conversation
Mm-hmm.
with someone in your family this week
Mm-hmm.
about looking yourselves in the mirror and also sharing history in your family.
Yeah.
Like when you start with your
Yeah.
history and just listen to some stories, like you
Yeah.
said, like when it comes to, you got some elders in your family.
Mm-hmm.
Elders, they unlock the key to a lot of who you are,
Yeah.
you know. Um But Vashawn, what's some final thoughts from
Yeah.
you? What's one truth about identity that every young Black person needs to hear?
One truth about identity. Um,
Especially in our culture because
I
we be
I would I would speak directly to that specifically. We are not who, or we are not. You as an individual are not a, like, your identity is, I should say, shouldn't come from a place, as in a location. It should come from a someone. A, a,
say that again. Say
so your identity should not come from a place or a location. Your identity should come from a someone, more specifically your relative or an ancestor. Um, because that's, just to say it plainly, you can know a lot about a location. Anyone can know a lot about a location, but it takes someone very specific, and someone with specific knowledge to tell you about your relative or about your ancestors and someone like that. And I will argue that's a little more important, in my opinion. So
This is the Man Up Club Presents podcast. We will see you guys for another episode. Tune in to Holy Culture Radio, channel 140.